So you and I talked last night, and
Yes.
we're going to get back to contracts today. We've been talking about Moxie. And the reason we're talking about Moxie so much is the competition. And I was texting with one of our agents last night who has a son who's a friend of a son of a mother who lives in my neighborhood. And I heard her house is going on the market. And I'm out walking Lily this morning and I run into her. And I said, "Hey, I hear your house is going on the market." And she got really nervous. And she goes, "Yep, my realtor is going to be Mo." I'm like, "Who the hell's Mo?" "You know, the girl who lives across the street from Bill." I said, "Oh, okay, well, good luck." I'm going, shit. So here I am 30 years in the neighborhood. I've known this woman and her deceased husband for 30 years. Wasn't even in consideration, right? Now,
Right.
granted, I do not market myself. I don't have a CRM. I'm not pushing anything. But there's a new person who moved into the neighborhood who's recently licensed, who just took a listing in my neighborhood. And I'm a little offended by it. But I can't because it's my fault, right? Because I didn't do the things that need to be done. So what we're trying to do is get you guys to do the things. So what just happened to me doesn't happen to you. I should have been at least invited to that dance.
Isn't that the worst feeling when it's right in your backyard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe I would do a better job.
Of course, yes.
But they're picking the new girl who moved into the neighborhood, who got a license. And I drive by her house all the time. I know who she is. I didn't know her name was Mo. I thought it was Fanny.
Really?
But yeah, she's home all the time. I don't ever see. I'll look her up in Broker Metrics just for fun, but that's what I'm afraid is going to happen. All these new entrants to the marketplace are going to come in, and they're going to take business from you and your agents. So we got to step up our game, and the professionalism has to come out, right? Because that's what's going to make the difference. And people do talk about our level of professionalism. So anyway, we're getting back to contracts today.
Yeah, just really, one of the things I've been telling the agents too is just past clients. I mean, a year, 2 years, 3 years, give them a call, see how they're doing. Because you don't know where they're at. I mean, is there so much equity? I mean, there's so many different things. Even if they don't want to sell, maybe they want to invest. But it's our job to get out there and talk to those individuals.
I had a great time in Sarasota yesterday. Kathleen had a party for St. Patrick's Day, and I got to meet in person a lot of our agents that I haven't met in person. And a lot of them were having conversations with me about equity, getting the home equity lines of credit, having the cash ready just in case an opportunity comes up.
Sure.
So, and that's, my recommendation is a local bank, a TD bank, a B bank, OZK. They just love those internal products. And if you have equity, I wouldn't sell your house. It was funny. I got a text yesterday. I not text, an email from one of my sellers from that land. And his name is Peter. I'm sorry, Bill Curtis. And he sent me a photo of a condo he built in Indian Rocks Beach in 1979.
Wow.
5 units, 5 stories, so 25 units in the building. The sign out front said, starting at, drum roll please, 49.9.
Really?
1979, a condo on Indian Rocks Beach on the Gulf of Mexico was $49,900.
Wow.
Now Jeff is selling townhouses across the street from the beach for $1.5 million.
Exactly.
Yeah, Regina Mann says, wow. I can probably show you the picture so you know I'm not lying. Where did I put it? I learned this, GL 107. GL is Google labels.
Okay.
And then it pulls up your labels, and I can.
So
I didn't put it there. I know I sent it to my dad and Jeff, and those are my sent items. Okay. Give me 1 second. Let's say it's almost here.
Okay. Take your time.
Here it is. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Oh, that's great. I'm sorry, 45.9.
45.9.
Pelican Cove on the beach, 1 and 2 bedroom luxury homes, starting from $45,900.
Wow.
That's crazy, right?
That's
My dad
basic.
is saying is I found this attached photo in a drawer, 25 units on Indian Rocks Beach, 5 floors above parking times 5 units per floor. I believe the year was 1979. My company was a general contractor. I was a 25% development partner. Notice the price from 45.9. We made a good profit. So I wrote back, I sent that to my dad and Jeff, and Dad wrote back something, and I wrote back, good real estate held long enough, always appreciates. And Dad went and did an MLS search, and the last unit in that building sold for $659,000.
Wow.
That's a pretty good profit from 45.9
Yes.
to $659,000.
Yes.
What a world we're playing in. It is. All right, so we're going to just jump into our contracts today, right? Because we're not going to jump into contracts a lot. We're going to, at the April 8th, by the way, I'm going to share my screen again, just so you know we're tracking you. These are our attendees for the April 8th event so far. So we had 4 people.
107. Like what is this? What does the number start at?
It's 106. Yeah, this is for row 1.
106?
Yeah.
Wow. That's good.
Well, it's good, but I want to get to 200.
Yeah.
So we had 4 people sign up yesterday. So Puma's sending out group text with a link. We had 2 people sign up the day before. I don't understand. I mean, when the email goes out, you check your calendar, you say yes or no. So the 15th. So we're getting more and more daily, but some people just way behind on their inbox. I don't understand how you can do it.
Right.
Please check the box. And if you're attending, and if you're not attending, it's okay to say no. So RSVP is either or. We don't know you're alive and you're checking your email. So when you get a RSVP, you say, yes, I'm coming, or no, I'm not. Either one is fine, but at least acknowledge it that you saw it. So we have 300 people that ignored seeing our request, which is not acceptable. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be a jerk for a moment. It's just not acceptable. You get an RSVP and you say yes or no. I don't care if it's no, tell me to pound salt, but tell me that you at least acknowledge the message. So please, if you haven't answered, answer the RSVP, because we have planning to do. And we're going to be out of town next week because we're going to Las Vegas for the 121 conference. I'm going to be out of town the week after that for the Cardis program. And then I literally come back on the 7th, the event's on the 8th. So we got to have this stuff figured out now. So help us help you. Okay. We have 3 things we're going to go over today. The contract listing intake forms, which are basically a how-to, easy, stress-free way to get the listing agreement done. And we'll talk about strategies on those. What we're going to do at April 8th is we're going to talk about agents and strategies they're using. You should know how to write a contract by now, right?
Yes.
We're not going to teach you how to write. We're going to go over the nuances of what we're going to do. And I've got it pulled up if you want me to take the screen. So, and what I did is I went to .loop and I clicked on templates and I came to all documents and I searched intake. And this is just Craig Began's idea one day, and says, how can I make it easy? And the concept was either you have an assistant or you are an assistant. So my idea was you're out showing property, having fun, doing a good thing. You stop at Starbucks or whatever, and you talk to the customers about the three houses you just saw. They said, no, we really like this one. Well, let's talk about it. And you pull out your intake form, and let's go to we'll do contract first. And this is designed for you to be sitting in Starbucks with a pencil or a pen, talking to your consumer, taking notes, and then emailing this or sending it through .loop to your assistant, who then goes to work and creates your contract package and then sends it out for e-sign, and they can tablet sign it in front of you, or they can tap their own screen, whatever they want. But this whole process should take literally minutes, except it gives you the opportunity. For me, it alerts you to have the discussion about the important items within the contract. Filling in the blanks, anybody can do that, right?
Right.
Okay, a 4-year-old can do that. It's the strategy behind what needs to be filled in. So is it important for you to consider, or your assistant to know, if you're dealing with as a seller's agent, buyer's agent, if you're using an as-is contract or a regular contract. Yeah, we got to know, right?
Yep.
Chrissy said these are so helpful.
Yeah, she's so helpful. Yeah.
So remember, a good boss, and if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. So a good boss is going to make their assistant's job easy. So either make your job easy, your assistant's job easy. You're going to need their official names, email addresses, and phone numbers. Just going to need it. It's got to go on the deal sheet. It's got to go on the contract. And it's got to be used for .loop for electronic signatures. So that's pretty important. And then property address, city, state, here it is. These things are where I want you to pause. Where have you seen screw ups here, Thomas?
On the included items?
Included and excluded items. We have it happen all the time.
All the time.
So the listing agreement is the seller's instruction to the agent of what to include and exclude. The contract speaks to the buyer and seller about what's included and what's excluded.
Correct.
And the two don't match sometimes. Seller says chandelier does not convey in the listing agreement. MLS says all light fixtures convey. Now we have a conflict. What prevails? The contract.
Contract.
Because the contract between the buyer and the seller. The listing agreement told the listing agent, make sure the chandelier doesn't convey, but the listing agent didn't pay attention. So the contract gets signed and now the chandelier conveys. And now we got to fight. I don't like fights. One of my biggest motivations is peace.
You know, I had a experience once when the drapes and curtains, they convey.
They do.
When we got to the point that the buyer wanted the drapes, the seller was not happy. He's like, well, you didn't explain that. It's in the contract that it conveys. But at the end of the day, it's my job to to talk about these items, right? So at the end of the day, it was a gift card to try to settle it. But yes.
Yeah, but that's after the fact and not necessary.
Correct.
Right. And when I have these discussions, I do my best to have them up front because I don't want a conflict at the end. Hey, did you notice we're asking for the drapes and blinds? We expect the drapes and blinds to convey. Right. And a lot of people don't know the contract. And I'm going to say it again, but in light of all the new people coming into the business that don't have education or training, they're not having these conversations or explaining the terms of these contracts. There's a bunch of neophytes running around out there writing contracts that don't know what they mean. And I'm not being mean. It's just the truth.
No, it is true. And I think too that everyone should take the time to read the contract. And I think that's what happens. It's not, no one's reading, they just fill it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what this is. This is a just fill out. Now, I'm presuming that our agents know what the contract says. And I don't expect you to know it without having to look at it. You know, in the event of force majeure, how long is it for the utilities to be out? You can look that up later. Don't commit that to memory. But this is all it is. All this is right here, this little section. This is the important stuff that needs to be addressed and openly discussed with the consumer, buyer or seller. So it's simple. Include items, exclude items, purchase price, initial deposit. When does it come? Does it come with, or does it come within days of acceptance? Is there an additional deposit due? Within when? I see a lot of your multiple offer sheets, and it blows my mind, physically blows my mind, how many agents are writing offers without additional deposits. I don't get it.
I don't get that either, especially
if you're competing with multiple offers, and you're the one guy who comes in and says, here's an additional $10,000 after inspections. Woohoo! I like you. I would make that a bone of contention for anybody else. And if you do get a bunch of offers that don't have that, counter. I was working with my daughter, Jessica, and she got 7 offers in one day on her listing in Ruskin, and not one had an additional deposit. 6 of the 7 were investors. And she made the determination that one of the agents who was working with one of the investors was very, very communicative.
Right.
was friendly, he was honest, he was responsive, and she liked him. So
Mhm.
she encouraged the seller to counter that investor's offer to meet the best offer we had, which they did. And she also requested an additional deposit to come with that offer. And the investor said, no, that's not how we do it.
Hmm.
And they cleared their inspections and they're closing on Monday. But so sometimes it's at least worth the ask, right?
Sure. Yep.
If you're dealing with
How-
an institutional investor, they're going to have their own policies, and that's what they're going to
How
do.
much was the initial deposit?
It was $5,000.
Okay.
It was enough to be substantial,
Sure.
right? And then this is important. We have to know the escrow company's name because it belongs in the contract.
Yep.
So who makes that determination? Now, this particular investor wanted to choose his own title company, and he's paying for title insurance, which is on your spreadsheet. So if he's going to pay for the title insurance, sure. And now Jessica's stuck dealing with this, what she calls shitty title company, who is not responsive and hasn't done anything right. But she doesn't have a choice because she's got to deal with them because the buyer picked and buyer paid.
Correct.
But that's their seller the money. So their net was higher because they paid the title.
Right. And that's another segue of multiple offers. So they got the buyer's title, but they didn't put down the second deposit, but it's still a win, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And notice the distinction, escrow company and title company can be two different things. If you don't know who the title company is going to be, Paramount will be your escrow agent. We don't want to be it unless we're doing the title, but we will, just to make it easy. But there could be a difference. But ideally, you would have talked to the listing agent and worked out these things up front. Time for acceptance, critical, closing date critical. Is the property presently leased? That's a big deal.
That's a huge deal. And the end date as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the contract goes very deeply into estoppels, which is a verification from the tenant that this is the lease that I signed and this is how much I'm paying, which you got to be careful because you're buying that lease.
And people also know the seller is the one that takes that, pay for the estoppel as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
What type of finance is going to be? Yes. Kim just said, I lost it. Do you have a catch-all phrase for pool equipment? We're going to look at the contract in a minute. Pool equipment is not specified, and it's a little bit open-ended. It's I would consider it attached. So, but when you talk about pool brushes and skimmer baskets and all that type of stuff,
It needs to be listed.
it needs to be listed.
Yeah.
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 So included items, all pool equipment.
Correct.
And you know what a salt chlorinated pool is, right?
Yes.
It's got just a little salt cell that screws into the plumbing line, and they go bad every 3 to 5 years, and they're like $600 to buy. But it takes away the need to put chlorine in your pool, and they're nice. So
Yes, nice. Yeah.
it's not a salt water pool; it's a salt chlorinated pool.
Sure.
But theoretically, you could take that chlorinator out and put another piece of pipe in there, and trick somebody. The pool would work just fine, but it wouldn't be salt chlorinated anymore. But you'd also have to take the box off the wall. So you're messing with attachments, right? Which they finally clarified in the contract. The wall mounted TVs that we all have now with brackets.
Yep.
Brackets are attached. TVs are not.
TVs are not.
TVs are plugged into the wall, brackets attached to the wall, so the bracket has to stay.
But just to be safe and smart, you need to clarify that because it can be annoying. Yeah, I would in a heartbeat.
No, John, I'm sorry, I missed this chat. He said if we responded once to the email to attend, do I have to do it again? No, if you responded once, we recorded it. John, good point.
So
salt units can be rented.
Yeah,
we had that happen. It wasn't too long ago. It was about a couple months ago. The pool company came out and removed the salt chlorinator.
Right.
And the buyer's like, what the hell are you doing? This
water
is our
softeners too. Yeah.
This is and water softeners too.
Mhm.
But in the seller's property disclosure statement, it says, are any appliances leased?
Right.
Which the seller should have disclosed. Salt chlorinator unit is leased and the water softener is leased. And I pay $87 a month or whatever it is.
Mhm.
He didn't do that. So now what?
Right.
We're gonna sue them.
Hmm.
Put your $10,000 retainer with your attorney for a $600 problem.
Right.
Not going to make a lot of sense. So these are
No.
things that make a big difference. Mike
was
says,
thinking-
what if you have a pool service contract? Typically that would terminate with your sale of the property.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
it doesn't terminate with the sale of the property, then you'd have to disclose it because it would be an ongoing obligation to the buyer.
Yeah. And the seller needs to disclose that and let them know that it's going to be a change and give the buyers information, or give the buyers the information of the pool contractor, you know?
Well, if I was
Service-
selling my house,
Yeah.
they say, who takes care of your pool? I'd say Clear Choice Pools.
Yep.
And they're great. And here's their number. And this is what I pay. Who does your lawn? Lupe does my lawn. Who does your fertilization?
Exactly.
You know, share that
Yep.
stuff. Okay. Property present lease, financing type, home warranty, yes or no. We're gonna have Dwayne come out and do another home warranty class.
Sure.
It really is important. I shared my situation with you. I bought a house and within the first 30 days, the AC compressor went and the water heater went. And I didn't buy my own friggin' warranty. It cost me $4,000 and it would have cost me a deductible $25 and a plan for $700. So just a bad call on my part.
Mhm.
But if you're doing a home warranty, tell your assistant or you who it's going to be so we can include the plan information, and who it should be is Global Home USA. So
Right.
repair limits, if you're doing a regular contract, if it's not,
Mm.
don't worry about that line. What's the inspection period? What are you seeing inspection periods now?
7, 10 days.
We're still seeing 7 to 10 days. I don't know why. There's a whole bunch of inspectors that'll do it real quick,
Mhm.
but I'd like to see like no more than 5.
Yeah.
Who's going to pay the transaction fee? Because we got to insert that clause into the contract. It's already in the listening agreement, but you got to insert in the contract. How did you get this lead? Just for your own tracking, so we can fill out the deal sheet properly.
Mhm.
And then additional items. This is like that whole blank section of the lines at the bottom of page 12.
Yep.
What else do you want to put in there? I don't know, but you're at Starbucks kicking back with your customers. This is just a conversational piece and you're writing down notes as it is.
Yep.
And which addenda do you want included? HOA, VA, US, FHA, home sale contingency, any of the boxes that you can check on that thing. Which do you
Right.
want your system to include in .loop? So when they autofill, it'll fill the whole package out.
Yep.
That's it. So we just have, this is just you and me having a conversation at Starbucks. I'm making detailed notes of what we're going to put in this thing. We're discussing the important items like included, excluded, which addendum to use, right? And then I zap this over to my personal assistant or my transaction coordinator, and boom, I go back and get another triple trappy latte, whatever you call it. And then 10 minutes later, my transaction coordinator's got a filled out loop ready for me.
Correct.
Or I excuse myself and go to my car and use my hotspot on my tablet. And I go to .loop and I fill out the contact form. And then I choose the forms I want. I hit autofill and then I submit for signing. How
Yep.
cool is that?
I
Right.
love it.
Now, if I've lost any of you on that, what about that? It's called practice. Right?
Yes.
I would like to see 2 agents, go to the training room, one of the conference rooms, and sit down and role play this form with the customer. Because this is a natural.
Mhm.
The contract's intimidating. This is not intimidating at all.
Correct.
Not intimidating at all. So Chrissy is one of the transaction coordinators who wrote in and said, I love this form. Because if the agent takes their time to fill it out, that makes it's done.
Yep.
Piece of cake. 2 new chats. 0-day inspection. That could be done. Yeah, don't buy a cheap home warranty for sure. Okay. All right. So I'm not telling you how to do your business, guys, but this will keep the important things from falling through the cracks. Right. And I really don't want to sit in front of the customer and write the contract. It puts pressure on me, it puts pressure on them, and it's just not as efficient. So if you had a conversation with a form like this, you're gonna get all the information you need, and then you go and create the loop and send it out for e-signing.
Yep,
The world is so cool right now with the technology that we have.
exactly. I think we just have, I'm definitely going to use this form for my next contract. This form is great.
Thank you. Okay, so that's the contract. Now, I had this thought when I was walking the lawyer this morning. What if you submitted a critical date timeline with your offer?
How strong would that be?
Wouldn't it? I mean, you want to stand out amongst the other 18 offers on the property, and yours comes across with a completed, nice, e-signed, digital, no scratch through, clean contract with all the blanks filled in.
Yep.
And a critical date timeline.
Yep.
That shows everything you're doing. So I think we'll do that next, and then we'll roll over to the listing agreement.
Yep.
All right, so we'll go from here.
And guys, watch how cool this is. I'm not going to steal your thunder, Craig.
Well, why don't you do it? You teach it as well as I do.
I mean, it's literally just putting the execution date in there along with the deposit, and it literally just automates everything for those dates. It takes the thinking out of it now.
Yeah. So to make it really simple, so I'm showing you, this is the print preview. Just notice it fits on one piece of paper. When I get out of print preview, it's got a bunch of stuff over here that are instructions. And this is a tablet that tells the computer which days are holidays. So it automatically forecasts, like, President's Day was February 20th. It's the third Monday in February. So if you had somehow arbitrarily picked February 20th from a drop-down calendar, you can't make that an effective date because it's a holiday. So it automatically moves to the next business day. Well, this program does that for you. So the rules are, you can only fill out the yellow. Seller Sue, buyer Bob, property address 123 Any Street. Listing office, Century 21. Selling office, Century 21. Always. Title company, Paramount. Lender's name, cash. When is the effective date, Thomas?
No, we can put today.
3/18, 3/18/22. Enter. Oops, I did that. Changing everything already.
Yep.
When is the expected closing date? We're going to do 30 days, would be March, April 18th.
April 18th. But let's look at the calendar and see what April 18th.
We should look at the calendar.
Yeah, because we don't want to do it on a weekend, right?
But even if it does, the program's going to fix it for me.
Yeah, that's true.
4/25/22. Inspection period ends. How many days is that? Loan applications due in 5 days.
Yeah, it's 5 days.
Inspection period ends in 5 days.
Yep.
Escrow deposits due in 3 days.
3 days. Yep.
And additional deposits due 6 days. Let's say 1 day after the inspection period.
1 day after the inspection, right?
Right. How much is due? Yellow line. Escrow deposit $5,000.
Yep.
Second deposit is going to be $5,000.
1,000, correct.
Seller to the title commitment, it's a default of 15 days. We didn't change that, so we'll keep that.
Yep.
The date of receipt of open permits notice. Drawing a blank there.
Is that, yeah, what is that? Is that 10?
Well, we're going to go here and look.
Yeah, let's look at the contract.
Because the critical date timeline said that is on line 345.
345.
Oh, I did the wrong contract. Sorry. You got to pay attention, guys. This is the critical date timeline for the regular contract, not the as is. The dates are different and the line numbers are different. So I could go back to dot loop, go back, and I want to find the residential contract.
As it, right? Yeah.
So back to Excel, critical date timeline, that was line 345. So how simple this is to just chill in the morning with a cup of coffee. Line 345.
Much easier.
Permit inspection. Buyer may have an inspection and examination of records and documents made to determine whether there exists any open or expired building permits.
See right there, not 340, 356, about 10 days. Oh,
Yep, seller shall have 10 days after
Yep.
receipt building. Yeah, so that I would have made that a blank.
yeah,
So the answer is 10 days.
yep.
This is probably an older version I have on my machine, so it is an older version. That's why it's there. So don't worry about that. Buyer to notify seller of written loan approval or declination. What's your loan approval period? 30
Yep,
days is
30
fine.
days. Yep.
That's the default.
Mhm.
Buyer to verify flood insurance eligibility. Things we probably don't talk about very often. 20 days.
20 days.
Now, if I was selling an older waterfront home, I wanted my offer to be considered better than the other guys. What if I shorten that to 5 days?
That's true, but you probably already would do your due diligence too.
Well, I can call, I'm a flood insurance agent right now, and by noon,
Correct.
have a quote.
Yes, absolutely. That's the only way I would make it 5 days.
Yep. And
Yeah.
guys, if you don't have an insurance agent that's in your back pocket that you can call and get a quote in a minute, get one.
Mhm.
There's lots of them out there. But that's something you could consider, because this one bothers me, the flood insurance eligibility. Because I'll have this conversation again. Because I don't think you guys are, and you need to, because we're going to have some problems in the future. The flood rate 2.0 adjustment that happened in 2021 changed the basis point. It used to be flood insurance was determined by the flood zone you're in and the elevation that your home was at. Flood rate 2.0 changed all that. Throw that out the window. Now your flood insurance is based on for FEMA, for the Federal Emergency Management Act, for FEMA's flood insurance policies only. It is determined by your proximity to water.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So I use my house as an example. My flood insurance is $1,000 a year, roughly. My new flood insurance, if my policy were to lapse and somebody wanted to put a new policy on my house today, it would be $10,000 a year. That's a lot.
That's a
Right?
that's a game changer. Yeah.
Because of my proximity to water.
Mhm.
Because I literally can throw a piece of gum from my patio and hit the canal. So my proximity to water makes me a higher risk. So they're going to change my premium. But their policy is they won't change the premium more than 18% per year until you reach that level. So it might take 10 years to get there. But I'm going to be paying $10,000 a year for a FEMA policy at this location, at this house. Right? So what I did is I went to a third-party carrier called Neptune, neptuneflood.com, write that down, neptuneflood.com. Go there, type in your address, and they'll tell you a premium. And my premium, I actually talked to an agent, and I sent him my elevation certificate, because my base flood elevation here is 12 feet, and my house is 18 feet.
Mhm.
So they took that into consideration, and my policy with Neptune is $650 a year. Okay,
Wow.
that's not bad.
Not bad at
But-
all.
Now, if we sell a house over on the Narrows in Indian Rocks Beach, or in Jeff's old neighborhood where the houses were built in 1957 on grade,
Mhm.
their proximity to water, that flood policy is going to be $12,000. That's the max you can charge,
Okay.
right? Now you go to Neptune Flood with that house, and Neptune Flood could be $26,000 because they're not going to have any credits for the extra elevation.
Correct.
So it's really important if you have a customer, a buyer's agent, a buyer, to have them educated on what flood insurance will be down the road. And it's a hard conversation to have, but it's the right conversation to have.
Sure.
Because it's scary. And I'm talking about waterfront, proximity to water. If you're out in the boondocks where you don't have a high chance of flood, you're going to have even more reasonable flood insurance. I'm talking about people on the water. So like I'm high. Now the new houses, they're going to be taken care of. They're building a house 2 doors down from me. This friggin' house has got to be base flood elevation. They're built at 2 feet above. So it's going to have reasonable flood insurance because the flood risk has been mitigated, but it's not going to be a FEMA policy. Right. So the other third parties will pick and choose which ones. But if you are proximity to water under FEMA, you are going to be screwed. And so this contingency that we're talking about, I'm deviating, buyer to verify insurance eligibility.
Correct.
Is a big deal.
It is a big deal, but taking consideration not even waterfronts. I mean, people that where you have those man-made ponds, now they're getting hit with flood insurance as well.
Oh, well, take the guy. Let's say I was not on. I mean, I got waterfront on both sides.
Sure.
If I was waterfront and the guy across the street from me was not, well, guess what? His proximity to water is really close too. Exactly. Now he won't be $10,000. He'll probably be 6 or 8. But if my house floods, his house is going to flood. He's across the street from him, for God's sakes. Right?
Yep.
And think about the barrier coast of like the South Tampa Peninsula. If Tampa Bay rises around the peninsula and the houses on the perimeter flood, the ones across the street are going to flood too.
Of course.
And depending on how high it comes, it's going to come in.
Yep.
So I don't know. But anyway, that's the point. The buyer has the right to cancel within 20 days. So you might want to consider having a conversation with the listing agent and say, hey, just so you know, my buyer's already verified the flood insurance. So we don't need that 20-day out. And the listing agent's going to say, what are you talking about? Because they don't know the contract. Right. But you can be educating them. And then buyers walk through inspection is the day before closing, which is automatically calculated because closing is going to be on the 26th. Date of receipt opens permits notice. That was the 10 days. I left it blank because it's an old form. And that's been updated too. Yeah, this is the old form because this number's been wrong.
Yeah.
Angelique, are you watching? Where would I find the newest form? Carla just asked.
Just can find this form. It's in Dotloop.
Yeah, it's in Dotloop as a static form, not the automatic one.
Okay.
I bet we can download it from the Next Level Resource Center.
Yep.
But John, you called them. It was $13,000 for which property? Because I was told under flood rate 2.0, the max flood premium is $12,000 a year. It was $56,000 a year under FEMA's previous version, but they capped it at $12,000. So did you get a price from a third-party carrier for that quote you chatted about? I'm going to go not there, here, not there either.
Also, too, I noticed that the closing date, we had April 25th, and the day of inspection, it didn't change there. So
right. This is old form. That's been fixed. Okay. I remember this form because there was no line number 61,527. I just went to my hard drive and looked.
Okay.
Participants, attendees.
But that's it. This is really good. If it closes on the 25th, which is a Monday, when should the final walk be?
Ooh.
They could do it on a Sunday, but
it would technically be Friday.
Friday, of course, it would be Friday or the morning of.
Let's see if we can figure this out on our own. I love when I catch people, they say they're online, but they're not really listening. Lauren says, use your assistants, they'll do the form for you. All right, that's not what I wanted. teachable. Oh, this one. Okay, so alternate business plan, Newcastle University, Dotloop, Remind, Moxie Works, social content, master the contracts. I bet it's in here. Attach addendum, time for the contracts of this. Everything with the blanks. These are all courses on the contract, just so you guys know. And notice I went to c21beggins.teachable.com. You log in. I'm sure it's here. I just don't know where. But there should be a button. We could just go download the critical date timeline. Did not do third party yet.
If we go in the search bar and put critical timeline, will it pop up?
I don't see a search bar.
Oh, you're in Teachables. Okay, gotcha. Well, Next Level Resource Center now.
Here's the multiple offer worksheet.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Angela's probably walking the dog or something.
Chrissy says she just sent it to you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Chrissy.
Thanks, Chrissy. Yeah, I love your inbox 6.
That's 6 on red.
You're really good.
Well, my personal inbox has 2.
Yeah, I'm sure, but you read yours and you move them and you delete. I read mine and I don't delete or move, so it's just like the number is just like out of control.
I don't go to bed until I'm at 0. Okay, here's the new one. This is much better. Okay, so Chrissy, where did you find that? You probably just, because I know Angela emailed it to all of us and most of us saved copies. So same thing, seller, buyer, boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
It's been reorganized again too. So all this other stuff is different. All you do is fill in the yellow lines. But anyway, we talked through the concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the as is version, and this is FAR 6 version. So you have 2.
Perfect.
Right?
Yep.
And then everything else has been hidden. So this is much more professional looking.
She says she's saving it in Excel.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna do that too.
Yeah.
File, save as. Move this out of the way.
Maybe we should put this out back to the team. Email
I
it.
think we will.
Yeah.
I have my laptop elevated on a box, so it keeps my face level.
Yep.
So I can't type. I got to put my hands up here to type like this. And I'm going to save
Right.
that in my
Doing like a crock rocket when you're on a motorcycle.
exactly. Documents. Okay, now I got this saved. So that's much better.
Yes, nice.
So guys, this is why we want to make it easy, right? And Thomas, what is the biggest problem? This is a loaded question.
Okay.
What is the biggest problem we have with most problems? Starts with a C.
Contracts.
Communication.
Communications, but also
Right.
the other. Yep, exactly.
So the 2 tools we just went through are designed to open communication between you and the prospect with the contract intake form.
Mhm.
These, and then you and the prospect and the seller and the buyer's agent, everybody communicates on this form too. So you put all the expectations out there. If you put the expectations out there, then there's no surprises.
Correct.
And with no surprises, there's no conflict. Right? And then the
Very
result is peace, which is what we want. I don't want to fight. I'd rather fight over the drapes and blinds now and know whether they're staying or not than get
Yep.
surprised on the day of the walkthrough that the blinds and drapes are gone.
Correct.
That just creates anxiety and stress. And
Hmm.
our job is to defray, get away from anxiety and stress.
A smooth transaction.
Yep. So that being said, I will send this Roberta out right after this meeting, the new version. And now I'm going to go
I'm
to,
gonna go to listings.
yeah. So once again, I went to templates, all documents. I searched intake. I could have searched listing. I could have any of these words, but let's look at the listing intake form too, because this is
Yeah.
just as simple.
Yep.
Shannon should probably say photography, but if you're going to order photos from Shannon, because he does most of our photos, yes or no, this is so your assistant knows who to do. Remember, this is all for your assistant. And if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. Is there a sign? Yes or no? This has become an issue that we should talk about, because with the no marketing rule, you can't publicly market without the listing being on the MLS.
Being
So
live.
we used to order the signs up whenever the hell we wanted to. But now if we put a sign up and it's not in MLS, there's a fine for you or for us. And we don't want that. So now there's a strategy between when we put the property on the MLS and when the sign gets ordered up. And if we order the sign up the day it goes live, well, the sign guy may not be in that area this week. So it might be 3 or 4 days before it gets up.
Mhm.
So once again, this is a communication point where you and your assistant or you and the listing team are to talk about when this thing's going live, so we can try our best to get a sign up right away. And it happened again this week. We reuse the signs because you don't pay for the signs, we pay for the signs.
Yep.
And that's not normal, just so you know. Most agents have their own signs and then they put them up and they take them down and they take care of them.
Mhm.
Well, our sign guy picks up the sign, throws it in the back of his truck. And after he does that 3 or 4 times, the signs get scratched and dinged. And then we get our new listing and the dinged up sign goes up and it looks like crap. And the sign guy didn't care that it looked like crap and he left and drove away. And then we drive by and look at it, or the seller comes home and looks at it and they're pissed off because their sign is ugly.
Right.
And there's not much I can do about it. The sign guy is a sign guy. He doesn't take pride in his work for whatever reason. We've changed sign companies a bunch of times. So if that happens, let listings at C21BE know, and we'll call the sign guy and tell him to change the panel. All right. So don't get all in a hissy or whatever. Something shit happens, but we'll fix it. But we got to know. Right. And I understand Century 21 design new signs. I'm sure we'll hear about it at 121 next week. But they got a whole new set of yard signs. So we're buying new yard signs anyway. But same thing for your assistant, you name, email, phone number for all parties, because we can't send it out without it. Property address, simple city, state, zip, listing. Here it is. Have this conversation again with your sellers.
Mhm.
What's included, what's excluded. And remember, just because the listing agreement says it is a reminder for you to make sure the contract says it.
Correct.
Because a buyer's not a privy to this agreement that we have here.
Mhm.
Buyer's only privy to the purchase and sale contract. So this is a reminder for us as the listing brokerage to make sure we follow our seller's instructions.
Correct.
List price, title company name, address, listing broker commission, selling broker commission, property present lease end date, get a copy of the lease. I would get a copy of the lease and attach it to the MLS myself. Acceptable financing, simple home warranty offer.
But let's pause there on the financing type. Based on that home, the condition of the home, it may not pass inspection on FHA or VA, right? Say for example, they had the home appraised on FHA or VA. We know a case number is applied to it, stays there for 6 months, right? So that home, we can't check FHA or VA. So we need to ask the questions, in the year the home was built, if it's dated, we're going to have issues with the inspections.
Yep.
So, yep.
And also, I mean, for the purpose of the listing agreement, what the listing agreement says, I can't control what offer is what an offer is going to come in on.
Sure.
So for the purpose of the listing agreement, I would check all those, because if a buyer submitted an FHA contract,
Mhm.
and FHA wasn't checked on the listing agreement, it says the seller doesn't owe us a commission because we didn't fulfill the terms of our listing agreement. What is it?
Say that one more time.
The listing agreement spells out the terms by which the seller owes a commission.
Correct.
So if we only check conventional and a buyer brings us an offer, a buyer's agent brings us an offer on FHA,
Mhm.
the seller is not obligated to pay us a commission. He is obligated to pay our commission if he signs the contract,
Correct.
but he's not obligated to sign the contract because our listing agreement said the acceptable financing type is only conventional,
That's correct. Yes.
right? So I typically, just for safety, check all of them.
Do you really?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Just for safety. I mean,
Okay.
once again, if the seller signs the contract, he owes our commission, but he
Okay.
doesn't have to sign it if it's VA, if we didn't check VA box.
Yeah, okay.
And
Interesting.
then this is a discussion point, home warranty
Mhm.
offered to buyer. Not a
Right.
bad idea. I mean, in this market, it doesn't really matter. We're all lazy in this market.
Right.
That's not true. We're working harder in this market, but we're being lazy on the paperwork. Why offer home warranty in this market? It's going to sell anyway.
Mhm.
But because you're going to get listing coverage for 6 months on the appliances, it's not going to be on the market for 6 months anyway. So it's
Right.
probably a moot point for now, but when the market does change, something we'll talk more about.
Sure.
And then here you go again, addenda to be included. What do we recommend for our agents to do with the addenda that we know is going to come up? You know you're going to need lead bait paint. You know you're going to need a seller's disclosure. You know you're going to need a
HOA.
HOA.
Mhm.
So have the seller sign all that now.
Mhm.
Fill it out. Tell us what the parking space we get and what the HOA dues are.
Yep.
And then have them sign it and then attach it to the MLS or have our staff attach it to the MLS for you. And then when the buyer's agent gets the offer, they can submit it and have their buyer sign all those forms. We're going to execute a contract like that,
Sure.
as opposed to going back and forth, right? Additional items, what are we going to do? Are you going to put in seller that all pool equipment conveys, including pool brush and skimmer basket,
Right.
right? I'm personally, the skimmer brush won't fit my truck anyway. So
Mhm.
leave it with the house.
Yep.
And if not, it's a $12 item, but people fight over shit like that.
They really do. It's real. I think what did Robbie say?
Roberta said, are you all right with adding transaction fee to the buyer just as a matter of habit from the time of listing? I'm trying to figure out the best way to add that, especially when the seller is paying our full commission. Well, when you're in the contract itself,
It mentions about the 325.
well, you have to insert the clause. So in
Yeah.
the additional terms, I won't do it now because I'm not in the loop.
Yeah, Century 21.
I
So
would go up
okay.
here, there's a little thing for clauses. You click on clauses, you drop it down and insert in the purchase contract. The listing agreement itself has the transaction fee written in. It says seller will pay 3% plus $325
Correct.
in the listing agreement. So you don't need to charge a transaction fee in addition to what's in the listing agreement, but you do need to insert the clause
For the buyer.
for the buyer side.
Yep.
So and we only do that if we have the buyer. If the buyer's with XYZ Realty, that's their job and we don't get that transaction fee. So I hope that answered that question. But on the listing agreement, the 325 transaction fee paid by whom? Is it the agent paying it or the seller paying it? That's what we want to know,
Right.
because we could strike that for you. And then how do you get this lead? It's just to complete the deal sheet, which honestly, a lot of you don't take your time and fill out the deal sheet, which is problematic for the staff. Because really, we get a lot of information from that. Like if it's an OpCity lead, we kind of need to know because we got a plan to pay OpCity. If it's a Zillow lead, we got to know because we got a plan to pay Zillow. If it's whatever, OpCity, relocation, maybe Federal Credit Union, all these different lead sources. I got another meeting today at 11 with a company called Appointments on Demand. But I'll tell you, I'm just going to get off this now. We're pretty much covered what we're going to cover. Appointments on Demand, I'm excited about. It's a mortgage company that is telemarketing for buyers to get loans. And through their qualification process, they're finding out if that buyer has a house to sell or if that buyer has selected a real estate agent to help them find their new home yet. And if the buyer hasn't, they're looking for a network and we fill that bill pretty well.
Mhm.
That can work West Central Florida. So we're paying them monthly and they're guaranteeing us 15 leads a month. So it's not a big deal yet, but it could be something big. I had a
Sure.
call yesterday with another group that is promising some really big numbers for us. and they're a monthly fee for us too, and referral fees. But my mission, and Thomas, you've heard me say this in the manager meetings, I want to find a way, those of you who want more business, I want to find a way to put more cash in your pocket so that the money you pay the brokerage is almost nullified.
Correct.
Because you're going to pay a broker something, even if you're at Keller Williams, you're paying the broker something.
Oh,
right?
yep.
Most people never cap out for their capping rules. But what if you paid us $20,000 and we gave you $15,000 worth of cash from deals that we put in your name because you worked here? Then
Right.
net effect, you'd be paying your brokerage $5,000 a year. You can't
Right.
work anywhere for $5,000.
Exactly.
Cool. Good job. All right, so that's what we're working on. And just want to make it easy.
Right.
Yes, I'm very much a C. Thank you.
You think?
I am what I am, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm not. Well, Thomas, anything else close up? It's 9:27. We took a whole hour.
Yeah, we did
Does that make
great.
sense? We're not trying to make it complicated. It's actually, we're trying to simplify it.
Correct.
Simplify it and make it correct. Because this is basically a checklist, right?
Mhm.
And when you follow a checklist, all the steps get done. When you don't follow a checklist, you miss things.
You know, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And in this game, we don't want to miss things. It's too important.
Yeah. So Keller Williams has this hotline that the agents call, and when they want to do a contract, whoever they're calling will stay on the line with them and help them fill out every single line. How smooth is with us that you can go in this intake form, fill out this, sit with your client, fill this information out, and then send it to your transaction coordinator, and they could just wrap it up for you.
Exactly.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's working smarter? Our way.
This will be egregious to say, but if you can't fill out that form, you shouldn't be working in this.
You shouldn't be working here. Yeah.
You're not ready.
Find another passion.
go to the referral business company until you feel like you're educated. If you can't fill that out with your knowledge now, you should not be doing real estate. That's how simple that is.
Agree.
Or, I'll give you a pass in the beginning if you're not familiar with escalation clauses or something like that.
Sure.
But it's just, that's it. Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
You don't
Yeah.
use it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Tom. I've got like 5 appointments today, so I'm gonna be probably change my shirt once in a while, so I feel like I'm in a different meeting room or something. But what have I got? I've got.
Awesome. Good
Oh
stuff.
yeah, so Agent on Demand is the new lead system call, and then Ron is my Zillow coach. He's in town, so we're going to meet him in person. He's coming in from 2 o'clock at 2 o'clock, so that's an in-person meeting. And then Apollo Beach has a happy hour. I'll probably stop in at. And then Thomas, can you believe this?
What's that?
Angela is an agent in Apollo Beach, and she's got a listing in Waterset for over $1 million.
And Waterset.
That's what I said. I got to see this. And I said, "Are you nuts?" And she goes, "No, they're selling them for that. You can't even buy a new West Bay home in Waterset for under $1 million right now."
Wow.
For those of you online, Waterset is across 41, across the railroad track.
Mhm.
Is Waterset, and it's a huge, beautiful community.
Yeah.
New communities.
Yeah.
38.
Newland. Huh?
They build communities.
Yes.
Real nice community.
Yes. Yeah.
They'll have 3,800 homes, but $1 million. That when I heard that, I'm like, what planet am I on?
What?
And this is a resale.
That's huge.
Mm-hmm. $1 million.
$1 million
So
bucks.
I'm probably gonna go to that broker's open just because I want to see it.
Right?
It's probably gonna sell. I'll report to you on Monday or Tuesday if it sells over the weekend.
It probably will. Yeah.
But there has been $1 million sales in Waterset. So anyway, guys, it's Friday.
Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, guys.
Have a good one. Thanks,
All
Thomas.
right. Take care. Yes, sir.